Now we can start. Jai Shri Gurudev, myself, Dr. Naga Prashant, and it's privilege to me to introduce today's webinar entitled 2 Days International Webinar on Bridging Research and Publication. The title of this webinar itself says very clearly that is Bridging of Research and Publication. Now we have great researchers with us, but publishing that research, what we have done in very good indexed journals, became a challenge. Each and every researcher is facing n number of desk rejections and rejections due to many errors in the manuscript. So our today's webinar is aimed to bridge the gap of research and publication. Especially, we are going to get a guidance from both the speakers, Dr. G. Jagadeesh and Dr. Balakumar Pichai, how to publish on Q1 journals. So I hope the audience will enjoy today's webinar with our fantastic speakers. Thank you for giving me this opportunity.
Thank you so much. My pranam to Swamiji. Good afternoon to everybody. Thank you very much, Dr. Prashant, Dr. Manoj, Dr. Pasha, and others who are assisting with this webinar. And I'll be happy to deliver for about 45 minutes. I'll be speaking on the research aspect, that is, starting the research. And next part will be the publication part. So it is divided into two parts, that is, how you begin your research from the day one you step into the college, how you develop your ideas and thinking capacity to get into the right topic and then write your protocol and then proceed towards your studies. So I'll be speaking, and this first part, that is how you develop research questions and hypotheses based upon your thinking, creativity, reading literature, other things, you build up a protocol. This is what it says all about uh, developing research questions and hypotheses which are required for your research protocol. And outline my talk after giving some introduction, few slides. I'll speak about that four cornerstones that make up your research protocol and the five elements which you can build up in your protocol. The topic of research, which is the number one in the cornerstones, that is basically comes from your ideas and thinking process, which I'll be discussing in few slides, followed by research question, developing research questions. Then we'll get into hypotheses, then aim and objectives of your research protocol or research project, and then why do you want to undertake this one, what is the rationale behind this one, that is the significance of research. Then I'll summarize the entire thing. Introduction, the writing the proposal is not that very easy part because you require a lot of gathering the substances before you put your pen on the paper to get into your right topic and then build up the whole scenario, how protocol, what goes into the protocol, because good science is exciting, thought-provoking, interesting. Reading will improve the investigator chance of even getting funded if you put the same proposal to a funding agencies. You require all these elements. Every research proposal has an innovative idea. Definitely, without idea, you cannot develop a protocol. You cannot come up with a right topic. That's why topic becomes a the main starting point. Then you read the research question, hypothesis, application that do not have clear hypothesis, that may not have very commanding over this protocol or even getting funded one. And also you require clear objectives on the any benefit, significance of your studies, very important. And of course, I'm sure that a lot of readers are aware of it, why the research is conducted, mainly conducted to fill the potential knowledge gaps. That is, what is deficit, what has not been done so far in the area of your work. So you're not repeating something was that has already been done, but you will tap that point, that is the gap, niche, so that you can develop a protocol in that blank area so that you can fill up that gap what is existing in the literature. So you have to understand the concept in that your major subject of research. Research includes ideas, the generation of multitude of ideas, brainstorming till you get into the right topic. Then of course, what is societal needs? So what kind of studies you are doing it? That is very important. Research is two aspects. One is the theoretical or empirical. What I'm talking is all theoretical. That is the theoretical basis for starting your research. Once the theory is done, the protocol is on the paper, then you will carry out the studies that is empirical. So theoretical and empirical is the theoretical is the starting point, conceptualization of ideas, and writing a protocol. Empirical is the planned studies, experiments, observation, measurements, analysis, manuscript writing, finally publication. Again, we'll be discussing the publication part tomorrow. And if you see the scheme here, research statement or research topic, which comes from your guide, mentor, a student or a researcher or a junior researcher, everybody depends upon the guide. Somebody should be there to get into a right channel. That is, once you get into that particular statement, a broad statement, but then you will improve that one by going through the review of literature, which Dr. Balakumar will be speaking about this aspect. That is based upon your creativity, critical thinking, imagination, which are all built in individual attributes. Then you develop a research topic, which is a workable research topic. That is, you will try to come into a particular title. From that one, you discern the question. Again, it helps you. The review of literature, background information is necessary to get a research question, and hypothesis, objectives, one, rationale, and significance should be written. So then once the whole thing is done, then you will be, this is the theoretical aspect, which I said in the beginning one. Then your laboratory starts, that is the empirical aspects. Then you write down the methods, experimental design, based upon the objectives which you already put forward in the paper. Then you begin your studies, conduct your studies, then you tabulate, analyze your data, then you will build up your thesis or you go for a publication. So these are all a step-by-step process. Without compromising anything in these steps, you will be getting to the right part. So that means three elements which are necessary for your research is plan of study. That is how you will write your protocol. That is then the guide who will be able to take you through the walk through the procedure and writing it, and your infrastructure, environment. That is a fully equipped laboratory, good library, surroundings, guide, everybody influences in getting right. So protocol, what is the definition of protocol? It is a structured outline of thesis itself, but lacks the results and discussion because you have not yet done your experiments. So it is a road map for research. And as you see that one from topic, we will be gathering question, hypothesis, objectives, and walk through this one. You see the sunrise in the morning. That is, for all these things, you gather the information to prosper yourself in your studies. So the first step is writing the protocol. That is, and then you, because protocol helps in getting a feedback from your guide, from your of colleagues, senior people, everything, so that you can keep on improving on the protocol. Without a well-designed plan, there can be no research or no experiment. That's why protocol writing is a must. As you see in the scheme, once again, I'm repeating this one. A student researcher writing the study outline is a brainstorming session between the guide and the student to having input to come up with a draft protocol and good critic revision. Everything will be done. Then you get a final protocol that will be getting approved from your department, universities. That is the anatomical part of your studies. Then you perform the studies. Then you build up your thesis and publication. That is the physiology part of the work, as I said it in here. And the top part is again theoretical. This is the empirical or physiological aspect. Now let us get into the elements of research protocol, which I already said a couple of times in this previous slides. First, with the research topic, which is based upon your novel idea. How do you get ideas? Ideas comes only from the review of literature. Past 10 years plus, you should consult the literature, and when you keep on reading, you will able to identify the gaps in the literature. Automatically, you will get it because when you read through the papers, you would see that there is some deficiencies. People are not done the work. Even many people in the discussion, they write this particular aspect of area has not yet been done. Partly we are doing this work, or you may say that even after finishing the studies, they will say still there is some deficiency. Still, some of the part of this one is not clearly understood. So whenever you see that word not understood, not been done, all these things, those are the gaps in the understanding. The current knowledge is not yet been advanced. So you must tap that gap. So not the one which already been worked or overworked. So that means you will not be able to contribute a original study to this scientific field. So you should try to uh, understand what gap exists in the current knowledge in the particular area where we are working, either it's hypertension or Alzheimer's disease or diabetes, whichever disease area you're working. There are a lot of mechanisms of actions are involved, a lot of drugs that to be repurposed, for example. So you should be able to identify the gaps in the literature. Once you identify, then you write these questions. What has not yet been answered? What are the questions you like to solve here? The once you understand these questions, building hypothesis, very easy one. Then you write the aim, singular aim, or more than one aim, you can put it. Then objective one, then societal benefits, that is the why do you want to carry out the studies. This will summarizes the definition of all these four elements. And if you add significant study, it becomes a five elements to this one, 4+1. The five corners are a must. Significant study, many universities, they will ask for it, why this particular study is important, what are the implications, what are the societal benefits, why do you need to conduct the study. So all these things come into picture. Let us take up the number one, research topic. Research topic, as I said in the beginning, you should get a novel scientific idea. To get this one is entirely based upon review of literature. Without reading the literature, you cannot get these ideas because ideas are based upon the literature. Your starting point for any work, writing a quality proposal, is the idea. Idea detection flashes if you are voracious reader, if you are reading through the literature, if you are able to understand, and also if you are experienced researcher like your guide or supervisor who is able to interpret discussion taking place, or you attend several meetings, seminar like this workshop what we this Adichunchanagiri University has conducted. So like this group sessions, you can go for it, and also you're a good observer with a curious mind, like go through the laboratory, what studies people are doing it. That gives you an answers, your experiences. Now idea comes from it's like a crystallization. You cannot suddenly you cannot spot like a Big Bang theory. You cannot do so. It has to come through understanding the process. For that, what you require is the creativity, critical thinking, logic. These are all built in. Inherent ability of any individual is creativity. So we are all born with creative in our mind. We are creative people. We have a good critical thinking capacity also. Only thing is we have to work towards how to materialize these attributes, characters, what we possess in our brain. The idea is the product of creativity and critical thinking. And when you put together with a review of literature, you should be able to generate ideas. Ideas should be Nivea, a novel, intentional, valuable, excellent, and appropriate for the conditions what you carry out in this one. Look at this one, carom board. How this village boys have developed it. That shows that harsh material. That is, if you are not able to get any material, this is the mother of invention. You build up your own things. That means not that you cannot carve for some state-of-the-art laboratory, which may not exist in every university or every lab. You have to go to walk into some different labs or different institutions to get your work done. Because if you easily everything is available, possibly brain may not work. Sometimes when things are not available, you think through how you access this one, what other projects I can take up, not depending upon the instrumentation, because bioanalytical equipment is very difficult to get it. All labs may not possess. But however, ideas and thinking is yours. So design your problems, this is topic based upon the availability of the material. So any material that is not available, you should be able to bypass that one and think through that one. That is uh, how one can have an innovative ideas based upon existing facilities in your laboratory or in your department. Successful research requires several modes of thinking: creative thinking, critical thinking, divergent thinking, and convergent thinking. So, creative thinking and critical thinking are part of your ideas, development ideas. But when you do a brainstorm ideas, the brainstorm becomes a divergent thinking. Lot of possibilities will be considered. I'll be talking about this one when I come to the topic, real topic examples. That means a number of possibilities you will be through either for hypertension disease or for neurodegenerative diseases or for diabetes. There could be more than one mechanism. For every disease, when it's coming up, is all more than a dozen targets are there. You cannot work on all targets because of time limitation. A laboratory is known for a particular target in a particular disease. So you'll be working on this one. That is the divergent way of pulling up from the 12, 13 to narrow it down to one area. That is one idea. Settle upon one idea. So don't go out in the different ideas. Fishing around ideas is not correct one. In the beginning, you should consider and you should think about it. Idea is good for us. Which target is good for us to work in the laboratory? You should think through all the facilities and what has been done in your lab previously, and that becomes a convergent process. So moving from the about 100 ideas to 30 ideas to 10 to 1. So coming back to the only one. So that is the way how it progresses. Critical thinking is a refinement of creative process accomplished by harnessing the creative aspects of problem identification and molding it into a tangible set of concepts from which hypotheses and objectives are going to be developed. So this critical thinking is a convergent thinking on part of creative analytical thinking. So idea is a product of creativity and thinking. So it has to be made fruitful from these two aspects. As you see in this figure, so we have put together all roads. It means how the brainstorm session takes place. So creativity, critical thinking, and creative thinking, and moving from divergent to convergent upon a final research topic. This research topic is synthesized one in your brain, and then you will be writing down on the paper. Now, most of the research what we do, things in India, they're not original research. But somehow, some people definitely will be doing original research. I don't say anything, but a lot of people will get into second-tiered ideas because it's very easy to think about it and execute. Because already somebody has done it, so easy to plug in here. But that is not the correct way of proceeding. You should always go with the first-tier ideas. That is, as I told you, gap in the literature. If you're able to get it, you will definitely proud of yourself that you got into your first year ideas, not by substituting one drug with the previous experiments or going to second plant material, third plant material, somebody would have already done. So that doesn't give any credit because this we call it as a copycat research. With that one, possibly you may not be able to publish your work, even if you publish it through some other journals, not in a legitimate journals, you may not receive citations. So always think about how I can get into the first year ideas. That is extensive reading, tapping the niche will be able to get into your first year ideas. If you are able to think, definitely you will not be out of ideas. That is, ideas should not be plagiarized, should be original ideas. Now, once again, I'm repeating to recollect what I have stated here. Intelligence, you see here, creativity. These are the natural attributes, characters, which we all of us have in our brain. Only thing is, it has to be harnessed. Harnessing intelligence and creativity with a good environment which you cannot control. Environment is difficult to control because environment depends upon the institution where you have taken admission, your guide, library, laboratory facilities, all this dictates. Of course, if you are intelligence and very creative, you can take a topic bypassing these laboratory facilities, no doubt. And also, you can get a lot of literature online. You can write to the authors, get your reprints and everything. You can cope up with it. And with your guide's help, you should be able to get a good ideas, think through it with a brilliant idea, and considering hundreds of possibilities, getting into one possibility, you can get a very nice topic that into research question, hyper object one, start thinking here, and you able to get a thesis and publication, and you have a successful career. I hope you understood the schematic diagram where so for intelligence, creativity, thinking, motivation, skill, environment, perseverance, learning, strategies, inspiration leads to success. The project should be written by creativity, ink of creativity, intelligence and hard work. That is very important. You have to advance your whatever ideas you have. Always write first before you begin your studies. Don't think of writing after you complete your experiments. That doesn't make any sense at all. So once again, recapitulate. That is five pillars in your study. There is five elements. Basically, the four cornerstones and the significance of study that is required by the universities. Also, you should know that why your study is important. So, for example, research topic. I would like to conduct a study somewhere neurodegenerative disorder. When you walk into the lab, your supervisor may say, "Oh, our lab is famous for NDD or dementia. Can you work on this one?" It's a very huge area. So you have to think about it. What area, what topic, what is target I'm taking about it. Then if you study through it, you will come across more than about 20 topics. And for example, some labs are working on how this increasing in the inflammatory mediator like TNF alpha, interleukin 6 and 1 beta can contribute to decrease in the symptoms of Alzheimer's disease or any other neurodegenerative disorders, or some people are working on muscarinic receptors, one or acetylcholine inhibition, some are working on the increase the dopamine levels. So there are a lot, are we working on tau proteins, tau tangles, amyloid beta plaque. So a lot of labs are working on different target. You should check in your laboratory in which angle, in which side these people, because all 13 points, 13 targets are not being worked out in any labs. So they are famous for one or two targets or two, three targets. So unless it is dedicated, Alzheimer's disease having about 30, 40 workers, both postgraduates, postdoctoral fellows and faculty members, that's a different story. However, some labs will be having specialized in one aspect only. So once you get a topic, narrow it down to this one, then a series of questions. And I will be giving some examples, then build a hypothesis, then write down the objectives one. So once you understand the questions, which you put it on the based upon the topic, then half of your problems are solved. That shows that you have done a very good job in understanding the literature and you come up with a topic. How the research questions are built up. Research question should pass the final test. It should be feasible, interesting, novel, ethical, and relevant. For example, let me take up this example. A student thesis, which I went through this one protocol. Of course, I read hundreds of protocols every year from various universities. One of them I copied, hepatoprotective and antioxidant effects of gallic acid in paracetamol-induced liver damage in mice. Read a couple of times. Every word you dissect out. Let me dissect out this one. I'll just give two examples. Even though I can several examples because of time limitation, we can't go through all the examples. Now here, main drug, the active pharmaceutical ingredient in one of the things is gallic acid. So gallic acid, from the literature, the student understands that it is having a hepatoprotective effect. But its mechanism is possibly by the antioxidant mechanism. So when you get into these two, the main target is to see the hepatoprotective effect of this chemical, gallic acid. It's just a chemical. It is not a drug. So, and the mechanism is antioxidant. How to study this one? Studying is in a liver damage. But laboratory, how do you can induce the liver damage? It is by giving excessive doses of paracetamol. And which species you're taking? Mice you're taking. So you got all the things done. So this is how to dissect the meaning of the title. So when you understand this whole thing, then you ask series of questions. So liver damage, what biochemical parameters define the liver damage? Like SGT, SGOT, AP. These are things, how do you estimate it? Again, you have to get into the objectives one. Methodology, you have to write down. Then you say that antioxidant effect, then you have to get into the what are the different oxidative enzymes you can estimate, including ROS. And also you can think about it, what is inflammation? What inflammatory molecules are there? How the paracetamol causes injury to the liver, and what is the liver damage here, histopathology. So these are the questions when you pose yourself. You should be able to arbitrate this listed out many more questions based upon the mechanism of action. So one can generate a lot of research questions once you understand your thesis title, topic, and review of literature. I'll take up the second example, a pharmaceutics one. A student has submitted this 2-3 years ago. This project work, preparation, read properly, and optimization of fast dissolving nanoparticle film containing doxycycline. Here, this is the active ingredient, doxycycline. The student is working for what? Treating gingivitis. But that means doxycycline is already given. If you know that very well prescription doxycycline for treating gingivitis, then why they want to do experiments? Because the student writes here, he is developing a nanoparticle film, a new formulation, which it claims to be fast dissolving. So preparation of this fast dissolving nanoparticle film, that means there should be something existing already. That means we'll be having capsules and gels. And now says that I'm having a new formulation. What is this? What are the drawbacks? Why you want to develop? Then you should think about capsules like targeting of the drug to sites. Gels may not sustain the effect of more extended period. Extended period means, okay, with the film possible, I would like to extend the period of the activity. That is, there may be controlled release so that it may release, every hour may release. So 24 hours, one application is sufficient. So then just avoiding the capsule, which causes systemic toxicity, GI disturbances, and also killing the bacterial flora. So in that case, you may be able to overcome the systemic toxicity by giving the site-specific one, that is the buccal cavity, may put this one. So obviously distributed in a polymer, does the release occur, what is the controlled release, how many hours it goes there, then what experiments you can do to do it. So these are some of the 5 minimum questions you can develop, which I developed it based upon the thesis title. I will not be going further into some of the few more examples which are given. For example, pentyl induced epileptic seizures. In this case, they're using the ellagic acid as the active ingredient, which can target this one. And again, they're giving the mechanisms like cytokines, oxidative stress. So again, ask several questions here. So once your questions are very clear, then you get into hypothesis. Central component research process or research question hypothesis. Many students bypass this one. Research hypothesis, straight away they go to the objective one. That is incorrect procedure of writing protocol. You have to understand research question and hypothesis, then only you will be able to build up your protocol. Hypothesis, it predicts the outcome of a research. It is yes or no. Yes, the particular thing what you're doing it is going to have an effect. That is hypothesis specific statement you are making it, predicting relationship between X and Y, where X is the concentration of the drug or exposure to the chemical, which is an independent variable, and dependent variable, think about this, rising in the blood pressure or decreasing the blood pressure. So 2 variables are comparing X and Y. So that's why hypothesis, for example, if you say that the drug is not inferior to the existing one means a reference drug. That which what you're testing is the drug which is not inferior. So in that case, the 2 variables are there. Based upon this one, you can test the hypothesis that this current drug is not inferior. Testable hypothesis, statistics is required again. See, think about the same example, what I did in the research question. Hepatoprotective and antioxidant effects of, again, the gallic acid in paracetamol-induced liver damage. Paracetamol-induced damage, gallic acid. Okay. Now, what is the hypothesis? You must already thought about it. The gallic acid treatment decreases the progression of inflammation in what? In paracetamol induced hepatotoxicity. Very simple way of writing. Or you can also write, based upon the antioxidant mechanisms, you can write antioxidant effect of gallic acid relieves the progression of the inflammatory mediator TNF alpha, which is cytokine, in paracetamol exposed mice. Very clear? A and B. So one of the things you can write it as a, or you can also refine a little bit more, or in a better way, hypothesis. Don't miss to write this question hypothesis. Now, second example, we can come to the pharmaceutics example. It is doxycycline, which you already understood. I explained to you doxycycline. That is here, doxycycline formulated in a polymeric nanoparticle film. This is what the student thesis claims. Effectively treats gingival inflammation. Furthermore, because the student writes it, extended release and also controlled release, everything. Then you can add to this one. The drug is released in a controlled manner, contributing to more prolonged therapy than, see, more than statistics involved. Traditional one, versus traditional means capsule or whatever gel you are using it, that you should take it as a reference one. Then your conventional, the particular film which you're making it here, nanoparticle film, should compare this one for even toxicity test and everything. So now we clear about how to, same thing with conversions also I wrote it. It is hypothesized that the allergic acid which they are testing has an anticonvulsant activity and it may modulate seizure susceptibility in animal models. Or you can say nanoformulated allergic acid is more efficacious in regulating seizures than the regular allergic acid, because the student writes here nanoformulation. Nanoformulation should be compared with the regular formulation of allergic acid, because nanoformulation may decrease the dose tenfold approximately compared to the allergic acids. That is a site-specific work. Is hypothesis necessary? Yes, all biologically driven experiments, you need an hypothesis. However, the exceptions say that is hypothesis may not be required in case if you are doing studies like structure, some synthesis of a compound. A chemistry student may do compound synthesis without undertaking any pharmacological studies to compare between 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 SCR compounds. Then you may not need. If you want to compare among all the 5 groups for some activity, you need an hypothesis saying that the second compound number 2, number compound 5 is better than that of 1 or 2, or the reference compound, you may need it. But just synthesis of a molecule, NCE, you don't need. Same thing with the cognitive people who are doing pure pharmacology of a plant material, you don't need it. Some pharmaceutical people also doing just a formulation studies, you don't need it. A hypothesis. So hypothesis is by and large, we need it. Aims and objectives. This is the core which everybody writes. The first two, that is research question and hypothesis, are largely ignored by in the protocol, which I come across many places. But however, many students write research questions, hypothesis also. But aim and objectives one, people have to be very clear. Many people write methodology in the objectives one. No, based upon the objectives one, you write methodology. Not it mix. Don't mix methodology with the objectives one. So because objectives are the core ones, which is a gateway to the study. The aim refers to the general direction or intent of an individual researcher. What you want to do, that is the aim. The aims are general statement that provide direction or identify an intention to act in writing a research proposal. It can be chunked into various objectives. That means objectives becomes a part of aim. And see in the next slide, objectives are a part of the aim, and goal is a non-measurable, a distant one, which is not related to any of your work. It is only given by people who submit the grant proposal. You say it is a high-level, non-measurable statement concerning a broad, open-ended measure of achievement, 2, 3, 4 years, anything. For thesis work, you will go only 1 3-year thesis. So you ignore and go for the aims, a single aim, and number of objectives one. This is the way how it compares this between the goal, aims, and objectives one. And further, I'm going to give aim should be smart, it should be specific, measurable. It's a measurable one. Remember, SGOT, you measure it. Then any of the catalyst enzyme, you measure it. So it's measurable, achievable, realistic time bound within 1 year of this informed thesis, you must finish it, and challenging to do these experiments. Protocol, when you're writing here, you use certain words to define objectives one, like to describe, to establish, to determine, to compare, to evaluate, to investigate. And also you can group into primary, secondary, exploratory, or you can list the objectives one, as I'll be showing in next 2-3 slides. So look at it here. Same example, hepatoprotective and antioxidant effects of gallic acid in paracetamol-induced liver damage. Last 2 times I showed you research question, hypothesis. Now I'm coming to the same example, writing objectives. What is the aim of the study? One single sentence, you can write aim. To investigate the antioxidant, cytoprotective, and hepatoprotective activities of gallic acid. This is your aim. It is singular aim, you get into several object activity. Antioxidant neutralizes RBS, reduce oxidative stress. Now you develop methodology. How do you study this antioxidant, RBS? What are the different antioxidant enzymes? So oxidative enzymes you must study here. So you'll be having 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That is methodologies for this one. Again, objective 2, anti-inflammatory effect, inhibit the release of pro-inflammatory cytokines and mediators. Again, you will come across several of them, like TNF alpha, these things. You write the methodology for the objective 2, 2, 3, any measurable parameters. 3, liver function, because you said the liver damage. So, for example, you will be doing SGOT, GPT, alkaline phosphatase, all these things. Again, write down methodology based upon this objective one. Again, to study about something about total brain concentration of time, Professor gallic acid, histopathology liver, because you say damage, the histopathology liver, how you conduct the study, write down the methodology. For each objective, there should be one or more method. How do you accomplish this objective? Now coming to this pharmaceutics topic, doxycycline. Aim of the study is study the fast dissolving film containing doxycycline polymeric nanoparticles as a local drug delivery system for treating periodontitis. So gingivitis treatment using these polymeric nanoparticles. This is your aim. What are your objectives? One, to study in vitro drug release patterns, defining the release mechanism, in vitro characterization of nanoparticles, and in vitro antibacterial efficacy study evaluates the for effectiveness. Effectiveness cannot be done because since you say that it is an antibiotic, definitely you have to go for antibacterial efficacy study. And also for the other parameters like the probing death, bleeding, all these things you have to be assessed. And also you have to go avoiding systemic toxicity, you have to test also. So this comes under objectives, and do not write any methods details under objectives one. Objectives one is singular one. Then you expand into methodology, SOP, everything. Same thing I did for the anti-convergent effect, that is malic acid. Anti-Alzheimer activity, I give you some examples. Now study design, experimental study design. Once all the things are clear, you have to put a table saying that how do you carry out the studies? That is, what doses you are giving. In the literature, you select the doses. There is another topic which not part of this one here. Else, how to select doses for pharmacodynamic studies, how to select doses for toxicity studies, that is acute toxicity study, so that you'll be safe enough not to kill more animals when you go into pharmacology studies. That is the pharmacological dose, PA, pharmacological active dose, and TD, toxicology dose. So that is you're working safe enough not to reach MTD, maximum tolerated dose. One will be working so that you will get a good efficacy of your compound. Because you cannot, for example, where there is 100 milligram per kg is required, you cannot give 1 milligram per kg and say my compound is not working. Disappointing. No, because you choose the wrong dose. That's why the high dose, mid dose, low dose, 3 doses. That's why experimental design includes those discussion, how you construct the doses, what are the rational basis in choosing a dose. So selecting a dose is very important, which is a different topic, which will be deliberating on Monday at Nitya College of Pharmacy, that is selecting pharmacological active dose and selecting toxicology dose, that is where it is safe enough to be given to animals where death is not involved. There is no LD50. There is always, we talk about ED50 and maximum tolerated dose or maximum feasible dose, MFD or MTD. Later on, you may ask questions on these things. I'll be able to happy to answer. So as we come there, in all this process, we know that how tedious till we come to this experimental design part. So once you're done with the topic, research questions, hypothesis, experimental design, we come into the last part, which all university asks the question that why you want to, why, what is the need of the study, why you want to do it. That is the last arm of this protocol. You should write down the current state of knowledge relevant to the proposal. Many people in this section write review of literature and asking the people to pick up whatever they want it. No, you cannot throw the points to others to understand. You must come up with the points why your project is relevant. Why are you taking up this project? Are there any benefits? Say, for example, in case of during COVID time in 2021, people used to write citing SARS-CoV-2, saying that, oh, there is no vaccine for this one. It's very much needed. Yes, immediately there was a grant supply was there. A lot of grant agencies, they gave poured millions of dollars for this project because it is a societal benefit. Society needs that vaccine. Everybody wanted to develop their vaccines. Now monkeypox, mpox has come. Now again they need a vaccine for it. Again they justify I am developing vaccine or hypertension vaccine. So these are things very easy to justify. But some other places where such vaccines are not involved, you may say that I'm working on a pure mechanism of action. There also you can justify that such mechanism doesn't exist now. So we don't know the mechanism, how it reduces blood pressure. We would like to extend this for studies as we know that 2-3 mechanisms are operating. However, we would like to explore this unexplored area that what causes it to decrease the blood pressure because it is a pathological consequence of hypertension. So you may discuss that when giving a background information, how your current experiment fits into the new mechanism. That's why you have to justify the need for your proposed research, what makes your research significant, or why you are conducting it, is your study confirms already been published by others, and why you need to confirm it. What is the lacuna in the previous studies? What makes you to confirm? Or you want to refute or extend the previous findings of your own laboratory, adding more parameters to strengthen your belief, strengthen your theory. What are the practical implications study? Why is this research topic important? To conclude, you must demonstrate that your proposed study represents a significant step forward and that it will contribute to the literature also. You are advancing the study so that people can cite your work. Yes, the previous worker has done this much work and you will further continue the studies. Then you get a credit, you get a citation for your work because you couldn't accomplish the remaining part because of some problems with your equipment or something else, you couldn't do it. Other people carry out, then they will cite your work also. So you receive a citation for that one because you were the first one to come up with the idea. But for example, I'll give a lot of examples how to write it. If it's a new drug in the particular class, you can say that these compounds have the potential to enhance our armamentarium of heart failure therapeutics. One more drug you are adding, which inhibits the myosin, so that the congestive heart failure, it will be overcome this one. You can add to this one, or any mechanisms you study. So some of these examples are given here. Or for example, you are testing the new compound. This is the eighth antihypertensive in the renin-angiotensin system, where they wanted to test its efficacy, that it is not inferior to that of the existing third compound approved valsartan. Then they wrote a protocol saying that azelcertan is not inferior to that of established valsartan. So in that case, definitely, and this is considered to be one of the societal benefits. Similar one, I given few examples to show that one. Again, recapitulate the whole thing, what I said now in the last about 50 slides. This stacked ones, it shows that based upon your thinking paradigms like creative ideas, creative thinking, divergent thinking, convergent thinking, and critically thinking, you with reading a lot of literature, you have come up with a viable topic, a nice topic. From the topic, you put a lot of questions. Then you'll be thinking through this topic of questions to get a right hypothesis. Again, you will be having a creative thinking, what kind of hypothesis I can write it so that we can test easily, either statistically or as such. But usual hypotheses are always tested statistically because you're comparing at least one group with another group. Then you'll be writing a singular aim, more than one aim. Then you're writing a series of objectives, one based objectives. You will be constructing methods. Of course, experimental design, you must write. So what are the different groups? You're taking control group, reference group, then testing groups 1, 2, 3, high dose, low dose, mid dose. Then also you're doing any modifications in your formulations. You have to come up with another table showing the nano formulated or selenium or zinc formulations, for example. Many people do that one. Then if you're comparing those things, you can do it. What kind of statistics you are using to compare the groups, and you finally write down the rationale behind the work, significance of the study, and need for the study. You will build up all those things. Review of literature, Dr. Balakumar will be discussing in the next one webinar, where we will say that why you need to do the conduct the literature, how to conduct the review of literature, with using artificial intelligence or some various visiting the websites. So a lot of possibilities are there, how you can collect information on the topic of your interest. So in the introduction part of your protocol, or in case of your thesis, or in paper, research article which you want to publish it, you will write what are the components. The components is review of the literature is the one. In that review, you will be introducing the questions. I will be introducing the hypothesis, aims and objectives, significant study. All this comes under the part of introduction, which varies from half page to 3 pages. 3 pages usually in thesis one. You can write a long introduction, but not in case of publication where you contain within half a page or 1 page maximum because of word limit. You have to comprehensively, you should make a statement. What is the background information and what is up to the current literature 2023, 2024, what has been shown and what you are likely to go. And this is our hypothesis which you are testing. You should write this one. And our objective is to discern based upon the hypothesis. You will build up all these things. You have to weave through your studies. Now, experimental methodology. You will build up this one. You write a plan of study outline. This is for your protocol. Experimental design, as I told you earlier, statistical analysis, materials and methods, instrumentation, data recording, collection, difficulties and limitations, ethical issues, those who are using the animals, and also timeline, work schedule should be given, and what is your experimental target, how you are going to achieve this one. These things should go in your protocol. Some universities want all of them to be there. Some universities may not insist. So depending upon this one, there is a lot of variations are there in writing the protocol. So you must check with that one, your university rules. So final research protocol, more or less, you're having these components. One is the title of your thesis, that is the problem statement, introduction, background, research questions, state the hypothesis, how the hypothesis is tested, literature review, methodology, study design, statistical analysis, work schedule, and write down the references starting from, that is 2024, 6 months before that protocol, you would already got a lot of references, very recent one. About 20 to 30% of your references should be recent one, means past 5 years publications. So some people list only 2001, 2012 or something like 1995. No, that is not correct one. The past 5 years, what work has been done, especially you should add 6 months or 1 year old references. That gives a lot of weightage in your protocol. Writing a quality protocol means presenting a clear and reasonable thesis idea, relate the defined research questions to other relevant literature, hypothesis, writing objectives one, and justifying the need for your studies. Work should always yield 1 or 2 publications, that is in an indexed journal. Keep in mind that your publication should be in a very legitimate, non-plagiarized, non-predatory journals. So you must work, finish, and in that one, you must publish your work. Summarizing the whole talk, the fundamental principles of scientific research are the formulation of a problem, the development of a study protocol or research plan, and the description of the what, why, and how of the protocol, literature search and review, study design, static aspects, result analysis, data interpretation. Our initial vision for a study largely shapes our actions, approaches, analysis, methods, interpretation, and the need for the research. Ultimately, the study protocol should be suitable for publication, very important, and you should also gather citations. That scientific enterprise requires a lot of thinking and imagination, dreaming. As Abdul Kalam says, imagination, dreaming is very important before you put your ink on the paper to write the protocol. Thank you so much. I appreciate. This is one of the books which you published in 2010. I hope most of you might have studied, seen this book, which is out of print, but however still available on Amazon or Flipkart. You can pursue this one. 2010, we published this book. Remember the title here, Ideation. Starting from an idea, day one you step into a laboratory, you have to get into ideas. Finally, when you get out, you will be having a publication. So this book becomes the basis for your, even for your appearing for PhD entrance examination. You see that this book, you can always get information on this one. What are the subject content in this one? Recently, last year, we published this one, which is having about 60 chapters. It is the basic research one, as well as the clinical research, finally taking to the scientific publishing. All of them are discussed in about 12 sections. Having 60 chapters, we put together all of them and try to catch out of these two books. And some of the libraries do carry it because wherever we go for giving lectures, we have made it a point to donate a copy of these books to the libraries for the benefit of students. Thank you so much. I appreciate your patience in listening to me. And Dr. Prashant, uh, okay, I have to get into this mode.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much. I will be giving a break now for some time for next session. So break.
Dear participants, if you have any questions, please do chat in the YouTube live.
But yesterday I used that one. Only one packet was there.
It's a normal हवाई चप्पल तो मैं किसी को
It's slippery. बस 10 number है. 10 number.
नॉर्मल हवाई चप्पल पैरागन
नॉर्मल.
वो व्हाइट ब्लू आता है ना वैसा
वॉशरूम में यूज करने के लिए.
10 नंबर ना सर
नहीं मैं ले लूंगा.
किसी को
बोला अच्छा नहीं है ना, वो चप्पल है वो अच्छा नहीं है, हम जाके ले लेंगे. हाँ, इट इज फिजिकल.
सर शुरू में
This one, click on.
நீங்கள் ஷேர் பண்ணதும்
Okay, done. I want something right side. Something right side. So that how can I come to know that it is active? See here, see something right side. Some
See, it's not presenting.
escape. Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Am I audible? Thank you very much. First of all, I would like to convey my sincere gratitude to the principal of Sri Adichunchanagiri College of Pharmacy at Adichunchanagiri University for having invited me to talk on the topic, very important topic, essentials for a successful publications in the Web of Science Q1 Science Citation Index Expanded Journal. My name is Dr. Balakumar Pichai, currently working as a Director of Research Training and Publication at the Office of Research and Development at Periyar Maniammai Institute of Science and Technology, deemed to be University, Thanjavur, India. Well, scientists must not only do science, but must also write science. You may be a very good researcher, spending overnight in the laboratory. End of the day, if you do not publish your paper, that too in an index journal, your research is still considered incomplete. You have to have your paper published in index journals, because research outcomes are measured through quality publications. What does it mean? Quality publications. There are two major databases available in the world. One is Web of Science, the another one is Scopus. Web of Science has four collections. One is Science Citation Index Expanded SCIE. The second one, SSCI, Social Sciences Citation Index. The third one, AHCI, Arts and Humanities Citation Index. And the fourth one, Emerging Sources Citation Index. So we all are pharmacists, all the biomedical scientists, and all the engineering people, all the computer science journals are coming under the category of SCIE, Science Citation Index Expanded. So if you are able to publish your paper in SCIE journal of Web of Science, you have done a good job. And again, they have categorized all the journals of SCIE into four: Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4. Q1 tops always. When you are able to publish a paper in a Q1 journal, you have done a good job. So look at this slide. The research starts with a question. First of all, you need to develop the research questions based on the research problem And that can be identified based on the research gap. What is the first step in research? You have to identify the research problem based on research gap. And accordingly, you have to come up with a question. Then you have to do a constructive literature search. There are a lot of search engines such as PubMed Medline, JAN, Journal Author Name Estimator, Biblimet, Web of Science, Scopus, and also there are a lot of AI tools like Consensus, DuckDuckGo, Yandex, Research Rabbit. So using these search engines, you have to do the constructive literature search and you need to identify the research gap accordingly. Then you have to prepare the protocol. Once the protocol is ready, you have to do experiments, testing. Once the experiments are over, you will get a data that you can subject them for analysis, statistical analysis. Once you have done the stat, you will reach the conclusion and you can start writing the paper, and that result should be reproducible. Research is the part of science. The outcome of research is publication or patent. The outcome of publication is citation. So as Dr. Jagadeesh said, there are three problems when you want to publish your paper. One is typographical and grammatical and syntax errors. You should write a manuscript with a high clarity. The second most common problem is structural inconsistency. Sometimes they might ask you to come up with a Harvard referencing style, sometime Vancouver. It all depends upon the journal. Sometimes they might ask you to come up with a structured abstract, sometimes unstructured abstract. It all depends upon the journal. So you have to have a structural consistencies according to the instruction of journals. And third problem is that your work should be within the scope of the journal. So you have to choose a right kind of journal. That is most important thing with the help of your supervisor or guide. So look at this article. It was published by Nature. In the box, they have written very clearly, research institutions are falling down on the job of providing basic education in scholarly publishing norms. So that is the purpose of having this online webinar conducted today. You should never try to publish your paper in predatory, cloned or hijacked journals because they are creating a pseudoscience. You should not waste money in publishing your paper in cloned, hijacked, predatory journals. And also you should never read any paper, refer any paper or cite any paper from predatory, cloned or hijacked journals because data are not trustworthy. They normally do not do the peer review of your paper. They are polluting the science. In 2023 itself, more than 10,000 research papers were retracted. Retracted means blacklisted, blocked. What might be the reason? Scientific misconduct. So every researcher must know and must learn the ethics of research. You must never involve in fabrication. You must never involve in falsification. You must never involve in plagiarism. You must never involve in salami slicing. You must never involve in sabotage. There should not be any practice of guest or ghost or gift authorship. So such kind of mistake and misconduct that might open a way for your paper being retracted. So we need to be very careful while we submit the research paper. And also you should never refer any paper that have been already retracted. And also you should not cite any retracted paper. And also you should never do the practice of publishing your paper through paper mill by paying money. That is also a kind of misconduct. So with this introduction, let me start the session. At the end of the presentation, all the participants are expected to explain why do we need to publish in index journal and some part of arts and science of scientific writing and structuring a world-class manuscript to be published in Q1 journal SCIE and successfully publishing the manuscript. So directly entering into the content of this presentation, the research paper starts with the title. All the scientific paper starts with the title. The title may be of three types. One is descriptive, that is also known as indicative or neutral title. The second one is declarative or informative title. The third one is interrogative title. In the descriptive title, you will never declare the result. For example, for your better understanding, a simple title, effect of paracetamol in the management of mild to moderate headaches in migraine patients. If you want to come up with a declarative title, here you will declare the result. For example, paracetamol relieves mild to moderate headaches in migraine patients. On the other hand, if you want to come up with an interrogative title, that title is always ending up with a question mark. Does paracetamol relieve mild to moderate headaches in migraine patients with a question mark? Normally, you should never come up with the interrogative title for a research paper. On the other hand, if you are writing a review article, yes, of course, certainly you can use this kind of title. If you are writing a research paper, either you can come up with a descriptive, indicative, neutral title or declarative or informative title. In my opinion, it is a declarative title. It attracts more reader because you are declaring the results, the final results in the title itself. So look at this article. Curcumin, that is the chemical constituent of turmeric. Curcumin as curcumin. So that word is given as in italic. It is a non-English word, also under the double quotation mark. From kitchen to clinic. It is simply a commentary article. But see, it has been cited more than 1800 times since its publication. So look at the quality of title, and the title is a mouth-watering title. Curcumin as a cure cumin. It cures something. From kitchen to clinic. Look at this title. A century-old renin-angiotensin system. In the title itself, we have said century-old. It is still growing with endless possibility. AT1 receptor signaling cascade in cardiovascular physiology. It was published in Cell Law Signaling without any revision. Look at this title. It is a declarative title. We have declared everything in the title. Possible involvement of PPAR gamma associated ENA signaling activation in rosuvastatin mediated prevention of nicotine induced experimental vascular endothelial abnormalities. Although it is a lengthy title, but they have declared everything. The problem statement is vascular endothelial abnormality experimentally. That was induced by nicotine. That was prevented by rosuvastatin. How? Through ENA signaling activation. How ENA signaling activation occurs? Through PPAR gamma. So see all the signaling mechanism, problem statement, the target drug, everything are mentioned in the title itself. This is a classical example for declarative title. So after the title, you have to come up with a author name, list of authors, then their affiliation. Then on the same page, page 1, in the bottom, the corresponding author detail, name, affiliation, country, phone number, email ID, everything, including ORC ID, open researcher and contributor ID of the corresponding author can be placed on the page 1. So page 1 of the research paper, again I am repeating, must have a title, below to the title, author name, below to the author name, their affiliation, below to the affiliation, running title, the short title. Many journals they ask you to come up with a running title that will run all the pages of your published paper. Then on the page 1 itself, in the bottom, corresponding author detail, correspondence. Who is the senior author, corresponding author? Name with the degree, with the affiliation, department, university or college, place name, country name, then phone number. If there is a fax number, yes, you can, and the email ID. Email ID should be official email ID, not a personal email ID. If you belong to college or university, make it that official email ID as a corresponding email. Then ORC ID, you can include it for the corresponding author. The second page should be abstract. The abstract should have 4 components. One is background, second one is method, third one is results, and fourth one is conclusion. There should not be any discussion, there should not be any references in the abstract. The abstract may be structured or unstructured. Whether it is structured or unstructured, you have to have these 4 components. If it is structured, you have to give a subtitle, background, methods, else, conclusion. If it is unstructured, same 4 components should be provided, but without having any subtitle. So background, you have to write the background, including the research problem and research gap. Therefore, the present study has been designed, the aim. Background should end up with the aim. Then method, the second largest part of the abstract. What is the first largest part? Your result. So you have to mention the methodology part here very precisely and shortly. Then results. Here you can take more words because normally the abstract is restricted to 200 to 250 words, and some journal they might ask you to come up with a 150 worded abstract. Accordingly, you have to design the abstract. And whenever you write results in abstract, there must be some numerical value. For example, p value less than 0.05 or more than 0.05, not significant. This much percentage variation. So whatever it may be, the odds ratio, whatever it may be, some numerical value should be there in the results. Then conclusion. In the conclusion, you show the uniqueness. What is the uniqueness of your study? What gaps it fills? What new knowledge that you are providing to the scientific community? So that should be the conclusion. So structured, unstructured. Structure means you have to structure with the subheadings like background, method, result, and conclusion. Unstructured means you have to write with a single paragraph with the same component to that of structured abstract without having subheading. And once you have written the abstract, you should come up with 4 to 6 keywords. If they allow you 6 keywords, make it for all 6 keywords. And use MESH database for selecting the keywords. MESH is the medical subject heading. It's an abbreviated form of medical subject heading. That is a part of PubMed Medline. You can go to NLM National Library of Medicine site where you can find a Medline plus MESH database. Everything you can find out. And you try to coin the words which are already indexed in MESH databases. That is more good. Then you have to start writing a manuscript. Abstract is standalone. It is not a part of main manuscript. All the journals, they freely publish the abstract, but not the entire article unless they are open access journal. IMRAD, you have to follow the style. IMRAD, everyone knows about this. IMRAD, introduction, materials, results and discussion. Introduction, why did you start? Method, what did you do? Results, what did you find? And discussion, what does it all mean? These are the 4 components that formulate the entire paper. Conclusion is the part of discussion. At the end of discussion, you have to write the conclusion that everyone knows. So what terms that you have to use commonly for introduction? Because introduction is based on the existing literature. So mostly you have to use present tense. Method, you have done the experiment, we carried out, we analyzed, we performed, should be in past tense. Results, again in past tense, but sometimes it is in present tense when you are writing a caption for result. This figure shows, this table demonstrate or shows or depicts. And discussion mostly you should use present tense or present perfect tense. And also use active voice rather than passive voice throughout the manuscript. This experiment has been performed. No need, we carried out or we performed. So simply, I eat mango, active voice. The mango is eaten by me. Unnecessarily 6 words, 3 words are extra. You are not supposed to use passive voice, use active voice. So what are the key steps for research before you construct a paper? You have to identify the research problem based on research gap. You have to formulate the research questions, do the literature search and review, constructive literature search. And you have to come up with ideas. Ideas may be divergent or convergent. Divergent thinking is a creative thinking and convergent thinking is a critical thinking. That Dr. Jagadeesh must have explained to you. You have to reach to the final ideas to address the research question. Then you have to formulate the hypothesis. That is most important thing. Hypothesis you have to very carefully formulate based on the existing literature. This is what you have to prove. And if there are variation between the group, differences between the group, what you are going to employ, your null hypothesis will be rejected. If your null hypothesis is accepted, it means there are no differences between the group. So you have to very clearly define the hypothesis, then aims and objectives of your study. The aim may be one, but objective may be many, maybe 3 or 4. So what are the aims and what are the objectives? That you have to define. Then you can design the experiment and the protocols. And these are the search engines that you can commonly use. Science Direct, IMRAD, GNAN, Embase, Web of Science, SciFinder, Sinahil, Coherent Library, Scopus, BibliMet, and all this American Hospital Formulary System, Drug Information, Fact and Comparison Answer, Micromedox, all things. So for the methodology part, for the literature search and review, you can use snowballing. Snowballing has 2 components, backward reference tracking, forward citation tracking. Suppose you have downloaded a paper that is relevant to your study and check whether that paper is published in a journal that is indexed in Web of Science SCIE, Science Citation Index Expanded. That is from Q1 level, the quartile category. So if that is the case, without hesitation, you can start reading the paper. For example, you have downloaded a paper in a journal that is indexed in Web of Science, Science Citation Index Expanded with the Q1 category. Yes, of course, very good. You've done a good job. In that paper, directly go to the reference section. That paper has 60 references. The paper, what you have downloaded from Q1 category, that paper has 60 references. That is backward referencing tracking, reference tracking. That paper is relevant to your work. So the references, what have been cited by the paper, 60 references may or may not be relevant to you. You have to identify how many references are relevant to your study. For example, reference 1, tick it. Reference 4, reference 10, reference 21, reference 35, reference 42, reference 60. Around 7 references are directly relevant to your study. Take it. So one paper has yielded 7 relevant paper for your study. That is a snowballing. First component is backward referencing tracking, reference tracking that you have done. Now forward citation tracking. For example, that paper was published in 2021. And until this date, till date, how many times that paper has been cited? Why they are citing? Because that paper is relevant to their work. And that may be relevant to you also. So how many times that paper has received citation? For example, 70 times. See all the citations and check how many references are relevant to your study. That is forward reference citation tracking. Through this snowballing procedure, from one article, you can minimum find out 20 article or more. That 20 article, again, you subject them for snowballing. You will get 200 article. That 200 article, again, you subject for snowballing. You may get 400, 500 article, enough. You have done a very good literature search and review. So see the component of introduction. After the abstract, you have to write a keyword. The next page, you can give a list of abbreviation. List of abbreviation. If your manuscript has more than 10 abbreviation, it qualifies to be listed as a list of abbreviation. Then after that, you just provide a highlights. Highlights means 5 bullet point, and each bullet point can have 80 characters with space. What you have done, what is your aim, and what you have done, and what are the results slightly, and what does it all mean? I mean, what is the conclusion? 5 point, bullet point. Then you can also come up with a graphical abstract. So these all things should be done. All things should be done. Then you can start with the introduction. Introduction with the prevalence data, the research problem, the research gap, and the hypothesis, then with the aims and objective. Don't write introduction more than 500 words. Better no more than 500 words. Means try to restrict writing your introduction in 500 words. It should be crisply written. No need to write a lengthy introduction of 4 or 5 pages. Not necessary. Don't go for more than 500 words. Just 1.5 pages enough. Covering all the component what I have told you. And try to cover 70% of the most recent references. Recent references means last 5 years, 3 to 5 years. And if it is your follow-up study, you can cite your own reference, but don't go for more than 5% of self-citation. Maximum 10%. If you have, for example, 50 references, maybe 10 reference means 10% means 5 references. 5% means 2.5 references, maybe 3 references. Don't cite more of your self-citations. So you should avoid too many self-citations. That's all about introduction. Then material methods, you have to systematically explain the method, and that method should be the acceptable method. Use the acceptable methodology. You cannot write that the protein was estimated using histopathology. You cannot. How come using histopathology you will estimate the protein level? For that you have to do Western blotting. So the acceptable methodology you have to use it and follow it. You can use the research onion model that was coined by Saunders in 2007. The philosophy followed by approaches, followed by strategies, followed by choices and time and techniques and procedures. So philosophy is the fundamental nature of your study. Approaches may be inductive or deductive. Inductive always depends upon the hypothesis, and deductive you are proving the hypothesis. And what kind of study yours is a survey study or experimental study or case study, and what choice you are going to use, a single method or multiple method or mixed method. For example, you are going to do histopathology using 3 different staining to identify the renal architecture, the changes in renal architecture because of some pathological condition, like hematoxylin eosin staining, Mason trichrome staining, pyruvic acid staining. So what kind of method you are going to follow? What are the choices? Whether your study is a cross-sectional or longitudinal. Cross-sectional means data are collected at one point in time, and longitudinal means data are collected repetitively over the time, day 1, day 3, day 10. So what kind of analysis, statistical analysis that you have to perform? Whether you want to express the data with error, standard error mean or standard deviation. Mostly you have to express your data as standard deviation. That is the index of variation, not standard error. Many people, they use n equal to 6 and they use standard error mean when they express the data. Standard error mean is not the index of data variation. the range can be only indicated by standard deviation. That shows your variations, plus minus. What kind of post-hoc analysis test that you are going to employ, whether Takis multiple range test or Dunnes test or Bonferroni's correction test or Newman-Kuhl's test, you specify it. And whether the p-value of a one-tailed or two-tailed, you specify it. Most of the test is a two-tailed only, not a single-tailed, unless there is one-side variation. So everything you mention it, including the protocol, group 1, group 2, group 3, group 4. And the ethical part has to be mentioned. This protocol has been approved. And mention the ethical number, approval number also. Where it was approved, which institution it was approved. You mentioned. And drugs and chemicals should be the last part of your method. From where you have obtained all the drugs and chemicals, whether they are laboratory grade or analytical grade or HPLC grade, you mention it. If you have obtained some ex gratia sample from some company, you mention it. So that makes the entire methodology section. So research philosophy, research approach, research design and type of study. This is, I told you, positivism, that is deductive, interpretivism, that is inductive, and pragmatism, that is both inductive and deductive, mixed method. And your research design is a quantitative or qualitative. Whether your study is a survey or experimental mono-method study or case studies, or it is simply an exploratory study, descriptive study, you mention it. And what kind of data that your study related to it? Whether you have nominal data or ordinal data or interval data or ratio data. Accordingly, you have to decide the statistics, the test. If it is nominal, you can go for a chi-square. What kind of data it is, ordinal or interval or ratio? If it is a ratio, whether they are normally distributed or not. What test you have applied to determine whether the data are normally distributed or not. That you have to mention it. Everything you have to mention it. So if your data are non-parametric, use non-parametric test, and parametric, you use parametric test. Paid or unpaid group, more than 2 group if you want to evaluate ANOVA, if they are normally distributed, is Cruxel-Wallis. So everything that you have to mention. So results, you have to write the results based on the methodology section what you have written, or based on the higher order to lower preference. Don't include any figure or table inside the manuscript. Upload them separately. Upload them separately. Once you have written the result section, follow that should be followed by discussions. Then conclusion, then conflict of interest, acknowledgement, credit author statement, then references. After the references, you can provide the caps and the legends for tables and figures. Don't include figure and table inside the manuscript. You upload them separately in the journal manager, editorial managing system, online submission system. Then discussion. These are the key points that I'm going to discuss while structuring the discussion. You should start the discussion by stating the major finding, answering to the research question. What are your major findings? Just start with the discussion with the major findings. Then highlight your null hypothesis is accepted or rejected, and discuss the results in relevance to the previous body of literature, citing most specific references. And your previous work may be discussed that is in support or against the results obtained in the current study. For example, metformin. Today I have seen one paper. Metformin reduces vitamin B12 level. In another paper, metformin does not affect vitamin B12 level. So both are contradicting. For example, in your paper, you have found out that metformin reduces vitamin B12 absorption, for example. And the paper which is in contrast with your result, that also should be cited, that makes a good discussion. And finally, you have to hypothetically provide the reason for your result. that may be from your own thoughts. You should express coherently the uniqueness of the study. To the best of our knowledge, this is the first study demonstrate if it is having a uniqueness. And what are the superiority of the methods that you have employed? That should be the part of discussion. And also you should try to discuss the unexpected result, the major finding with the possible explanation. Without any literature support, if you want to give some explanation, that should be the possible explanation. Non-specific, loose, and sweeping statements should be strictly avoided when writing the discussion section. You should discuss the strength of your study and major limitation of your study. Limitation should be the part of your discussion, because every study must have limitations. So before a reviewer arises a question, you can write the limitations, followed by conclusion. That makes better discussion. Try to use present tense or present perfect tense and active voice while you are writing the discussions. You should strictly avoid technical jargon and unfamiliarized acronym. Do not write too short or too lengthy discussion. Some journal, they might ask you to describe everything and allow you n number of words. And some journal, they might allow you only 1500 words. And some journal may be less than that. To read the author instruction carefully, accordingly you write a discussion that can go up to 1500 words, because that is the cornerstone of your manuscript. Writing a good discussion will always open a way for acceptance. So in the conclusion, that is the last paragraph of your discussion, you have to have three statements. Number one, in summary, we have demonstrated. Based on these findings, we suggest that. Nevertheless, studies are needed, because you are opening your study for future study. But in my opinion, these 3 points are not enough. So the present slide makes a very good conclusion part. This is what we have published in our recent book, The Quintessence of Basic and Clinical Research and Scientific Publishing. Dr. Jagadeesh might have shown to you, might have told you, that was published by Springer in September 2023, in which we have given 6 points to formulate the concluding remarks. The first point, you write, in this study we address the progresses and challenges. That is most important thing. It's a problem statement. In summary, the present study reveals or shows or demonstrates. The third point, deep finding provides new insight into, or our results bring a new light or new knowledge. Fourth point, based on these findings, we confirm or we suggest or we propose or we recommend that. Fifth point, nevertheless, further studies are required to validate, to examine, to conclude. Look at the sixth point. Although additional studies are needed, the present study better contributes to the understanding of current knowledge. Better understanding of current knowledge. So that is most important thing. So these 6 points will make a very good conclusion section. Of course, citations are not necessary in the conclusion section. That is written based on the results of your study. Your own study finding as provided in the scientific publication are the basis for your conclusion. So citations are not necessary to be included in the conclusion section. So reference, very well, sometime the journal might ask you to come up with a Harvard referencing style where the names and year are mentioned in the text, or Vancouver referencing style where numbers are mentioned, 1, 2, 3, 4. Why we have to do referencing? To acknowledge other work, and to come away from plagiarism, you have to cite the references. And reader can confirm what you have said by referring the citations. And reader can find more details on the cited references. So it is very important for you to precisely cite references. All the references, whatever you are going to cite, must be updated from valid indexed sources like Medline, Web of Science, Corpus. And also referencing is needed to avoid plagiarism. You have to be meticulous in note making, you have to enhance your paraphrasing skill, and you have to completely understanding the key concept of cited paper that will prevent unintentional plagiarism. Elsewhere uses MOS, machine learning referencing system, whereas Springer use X styles. For example, in your paper, you have cited 50 references. Mars will find out how many references are valid and how many references are invalid. Your paper must have all references valid. For example, you have 50 references. Out of 50, 48 references are invalid. Only 2 references are valid. It means you have taken all the 48 references from non-indexed sources. Ultimately, your study also will not be valid. So your paper might face a desk rejection. Keep in your mind. So these are the submission checklist. A one-page cover letter is must. Graphical abstract, a separate copy of abstract. Then total manuscript title, author detail, affiliation, corresponding author, the first page. Second page, abstract and keyword. Third page, list of abbreviation. Fourth page, highlight. And fifth page, there may be a graphical abstract. Already you have to be uploaded separately. Then you follow the IMRAD, introduction, material method, results discussion, and conclusion is the part of discussion. Then acknowledgement, if you want to acknowledge someone who has helped your study. Acknowledgement. Then conflict of interest statement, any financial conflict, just state it. Then credit author statement, credit is the contributor roles taxonomy. What are the contributions of every author? Then funding details, whether your work is funded or not funded. Even if it is not funded, you write down. This paper has not received funding from any funding agencies. Then followed by references. Make sure that all the references are from valid indexed sources. I told you Web of Science, Scopus, Medline, or Jan, or Biblimet. Then after the references, you have to enter the captions, legends for figures and tables. Figure 1, figure 2, figure 3, table 1, table 2, table 3, table 4, so on. Don't include tables and figure inside the text of the manuscript. Upload them separately, I have already told you. Figures and tables. Even if you want, you can include some boxes also that you want to highlight key information. Then author declaration form, conflict of interest form. Then contact details of all the author, including their ORCID that you have to enter. All the author's affiliation, all the author's email ID, all the author's contribution in the online itself you have to mention. So these are the publishing, these are ways to publishing in index journal. You have to select the right kind of journal. Check whether the journal is a list of a Clarivate journal master list. Whether the journal is coming under SCIE for Science Citation Index Expanded Database. What is the impact factor of the journal? How much percentile that if it is 99 percentile is a top journal. Then submission guidelines you have to carefully read. You need to prepare a high quality manuscript. If your manuscript comes for revision, you have to address the reviewer comments very politely and carefully. And you should understand the subscription mode and open access policy. Open access policy can be understood through Sherpa Romeo, separate tool available. And check the journal indexing, whether it is indexed in Web of Science, PubMed, everything. Build a strong authorship team. If you are an M.Pharm student, your name and your guide name, that's all. If you are a PhD scholar, your name and your guide name. If co-guide is there, maybe a middle author. Your name should be the first author, then co-guide the second author, and guide the third author, and guide should be the corresponding author, not the student. So ensure that you present original and significant result, and you are providing a new knowledge to the existing literature. Be patient, because the peer review process can take time, and you should become a good researcher by contributing constantly to the science. While writing the manuscript, you should always avoid contraction. Contraction means shouldn't, wouldn't, couldn't, can't. So such kind of contractions should be strictly avoided. And also avoid saying there is, there are number of studies. Why you start the many studies? Simply you can start. And also you should avoid some words like really. It is really interesting. Why really interesting? It is interesting. Extremely, a lot of, no need a lot of, many studies. And also avoid using the word so. Instead of so, use hence, therefore. Make use of active voice as opposed to passive voice. And use a strong verb. For example, we made an objection. No, we objected. We gave assistance. We assisted. We conducted an investigation. We investigated. So you should always use a strong verb. And I told you acronym. If your manuscript has 10 abbreviations, yes, you can list them separately. Remove any unnecessary word or phrases. Create a simple and concise sentences. Each sentence should contain only one piece of information. No need to have a very lengthy sentence. A sentence should not exceed more than 28 to 30 words. Because the readers often become perplexed by its lengthy and complex language. They are confused. A single sentence should not contain numerous statements. One piece information. Each sentence should have one piece of information. Keep terms that are similar to together. Place your statement in the positive. And you should always avoid using ambiguous language and consecutive adverbs. For example, task was finished completely and entirely. Why? No need. And there are some ways to avoid desk rejection. Means you have done your work and you have written your manuscript and you have submitted to a journal, and immediately you get a reply that your manuscript is rejected. That is desk rejection. There are many ways to avoid desk rejection. So this is what tomorrow we are going to discuss, how to avoid desk rejection. So with this, let me come for the conclusion. The editor might look into the following factors. Does your manuscript has an attractive title? Is the work having a uniqueness? Is the paper from reputed lab? Will it receive the attention of more readers so that more chances to be cited? Does the manuscript strictly follow the guidelines of the journal? Is the submitted manuscript well written? Because if your manuscript looks messy, having a lot of grammatical and typographical errors, it might sometimes be presumed that everything might be missing. So you have to be very careful while you are submitting the manuscript. I wish you all the best. Thank you. If there is any question, I'll be happy to address your question.
Dear participants, now the session is open for questions. If you have any questions, please drop your questions in the chat box. Our speaker will address your question.
Dear participants, if you have any relevant questions also in terms of research, scientific publishing, yes, you can.
I think no questions is there, sir.
Okay.
Thank you, sir, for your valuable insights on publishing in Web of Science or Scopus Indexed Journal. Now we finally come to the end of an existing and insightful session on developing a research questions and developing a good research protocols by Jagadeesh sir, and essential for publication in good reputed journals by Balakumar sir. I extended my profound gratitude for both the speakers for their thought-provoking deliberations. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you very much. And again, I convey my sincere gratitude to the organizer of Sri Adichunchanagiri College of Pharmacy, SAC, Chunchanagiri University, Adichunchanagiri University, for having invited me for this webinar to share some of my thoughts on structuring the manuscript. Thank you very much. And I look forward for tomorrow's session.
Thank you, sir.
Have a great evening. Good day to everyone.
Thank you. As a takeaway message is that research is a creative process, and every step from formulating your research questions to final publication require dedication, clarity, and careful planning. By integrating the strategies shared by our speaker that help you to pave the way for impactful research and successful. Thank you for your enthusiastic participation. Dear participants, we are looking forward for your participation in tomorrow's webinar session. Thank you one and all. Have a great day.
Thank you very much. And once again, I convey my best wishes to Adichunchanagiri University for taking such kind of initiatives to enlighten knowledge on basic concept of scientific writing and publication. It is greatly appreciated, and I wish you all the best. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.